Up in the eyeball. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my blurry camera, but this is the Crafty Boys podcast of awesome something or other that I make up all the time. I am Shane. I am on the West Coast in Vancouver, BC, and we have three other people who will now introduce themselves, starting with Alan, then moving on to Dave, and then moving on to Locke. And I just introduced you all anyway. So
You just introduced us anyway, making a whole thing null and void. But I'm Alan. I'm in Victoria. Nice to meet you.
Indeed, nice to meet you too, sir.
Nice to meet you, Alan. It's been a long time.
And I happen to be a Dave. I am North Island, as we say. Actually, Mid Island. In the Comox Valley.
Hey, Locke.
And I am temporarily out in Toronto, so hi from Toronto.
Okay, well, this week we have a beer that we like to call Yummy. I fell in love with this beer, I would say 6-7 years ago. It was at a pub that used to be right beside the office where I worked back then, and it became a staple of mine. For quite some time, actually, and here's the weird thing, I didn't even realize that it was that amazing that all this many years later, I just love it. It's so good, and it's the first time I've seen the label, because I've always bought it while I'm at the pub. So what beer is this, Alan?
Oh, it's Fat Tug.
Fat Tug IPA by the Driftwood Brewery, and I'm serious. This is the first time I've seen the label. I bought it today. It's currently in my freezer because I didn't put it in the fridge because I'm silly, and because I've always ordered it in pints or in pitchers. I've never actually seen the label, and I have to say I don't like the label.
What? How can you not like the label?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Okay, actually, what bottle have you got?
Okay, I've got this one.
That's the label I hate. I hate that label.
Why?
I'm not a fan of that label. I don't know. I expected kind of I expected like a boat. I expected a boat to be towing something really large,
Well,
like
a boat.
There is a boat, and it is
a boat. It's right
but
there.
it's tiny. It's a teeny little thing. It should be a big honking boat. It's a fat tug. It's not a small teeny tug.
But the Fat Tug is being haunted or hunted, as it were, by this horrible-looking creature from the deep. I would assume that is some sort of a kraken, or.
I would think that is a sea hop, a giant sea hop.
Oh. All right. That actually makes sense.
It's being chased by a sea hop.
It is. It's a hop. It's a hybrid kraken and hop thing. So if the kraken, I guess, had undergone some sort of radiation poisoning and was poisoned with hops, then it would become this monstrosity right here, and it's going to devour the tug.
So we're saying this thing is from Fukushima, then?
Yes. Okay. This is a Japanese beer.
Okay.
And the Fat Tug is gonna bite it. I think.
Well, welcome to our new segment.
There's a tentacle coming out of the deep. Look right there. It's gonna thrash that thing. I mean that boat's going down. It's capsizing. I mean, all aboard, like not all aboard, like all off board.
That freaking arm is almost as big as the boat, for crying out loud.
Well, yeah.
So our new segment that we're going now from now on, we're introducing every show by going over in great detail everything on the label, and trying to determine whether or not the beer will be a good beer based on the artwork. And so there we go. Alan, well done. You've now set this up. Continue telling us about the label and the Fat Tug IPA.
Well, actually, I kind of get your kind of like bashing me a little bit about my. But I mean, this is actually a really cool label. I mean, look at how like fine the detail is in the cut around the label here. I mean, that probably cost quite a bit for Driftwood to do that, right? I mean, it shows that they put a lot of thought into their presentation.
Okay, I could buy into that argument. Definitely.
Okay.
Locke?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I may have, in one very early episode, have made a passing remark about that. But, I mean, the old label, just so you know, Shane, did have a much larger tugboat on it. So.
Really? Okay, well, I'm going to see if I can find that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I certainly don't have one handy. Now, here's the disappointing news that I can't get it, or at least could not get it in with the 3 LCBOs and 2 beer stores that I went to. There was really only any point in going to one beer store because beer stores are all the same and they're all owned by InBev, Coors Molson, and Sapporo. Despite the fact that they look like, communist, like Iron Curtain style sort of, beer distribution. It has all the, the hallmarks of a provincial monopoly, and it is a provincial monopoly. It's just a privately owned one, as it turns out. So that's why they don't have Fat Tug. Now here's something interesting. Although I couldn't find Fat Tug, or for that matter, any Driftwood product here in Ontario at any of the LCBOs, you know what I did find was a little bit of Phillips product, and not the one you would expect. What do they have? Any? I mean, your Phillips beers, probably. You guys, what beer would you expect to see in Ontario if it was a Phillips beer?
If anything from Phillips, I would say Blue Buck, just because that's their.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Any other thoughts? If it wasn't Blue Buck, what would it be?
Amnesiac.
Okay, another good thought. Yeah. No, but suppose it wasn't that one either. What would it be?
Oh, good lord.
Longboat.
Well.
No, not that one either. Okay, so it's none of those.
Oh wait. Not Hop Circle.
Nope.
No, that's too easy.
Okay. So
I don't know.
Electric Unicorn. Their white IPA.
Really?
What? I don't think I've ever had that.
I mean, yeah, Electric Unicorn from Phillips. Okay. I'm confused. Mildly amused.
Did they have anything else from Phillips?
No, not that I could see. No. Confused, amused, mildly contused.
I
abused the idea that we were going to do Fat Tug tonight. I got instead what I have to say is a surprising and interesting Ontario product. One of the few actual craft breweries to have some history in this province, because being as it's organized by people who seem to be draconian in the way they organize beer out here. But what I found was an interesting Mill Street product, and you're going to be surprised by this. A, like this product, and B, it calls itself an American-style lager.
I beg your pardon.
Uh-huh. Now, an organic one, it's called 100th Meridian Organic Amber Lager. Now, it's an amber lager, so there's your twist.
Right, okay.
But it is surprising in that this is one of the rare instances of a lager that actually tastes like something. And what it tastes is that it's malty, but somehow not sweet. It's dry, but malty.
Huh. I would. I don't know. I'm scared.
It's hoppy too, but it's mainly. Yeah, I mean, it's a surprising drink.
So, well, I guess what we're talking about this week, then, it's a good segue that we're talking about.
Well, we haven't done our
unusual-
pour of the Fat Tug yet.
Oh, well, right. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you for
that's
reminding me. Yeah.
That's important.
I'm gonna go do that.
That's important.
It is extremely important. Okay, so while Shane's getting his, because he put his in the freezer like an idiot, I'm going to do my pour here. Let's get that going there. Dave, are you pouring? Look at that. Nice golden. Oh, look at that head. That's really good. I like that. That's how I like a beer to present itself in a pour. Just like that. Now, Dave, I know you're not a fan of IPAs, so let's let you have the first flavor, the first taste. Smells all right.
Really, I love the smell, but I think
Got a
I've
bit of
loved
a
the smell of
citrusy
pretty
kind
much
of
all the beers. They got really, I don't know. I don't even really have the vocab to describe the smell very well, but it's, I don't know. I just like it. It's kind of, I don't know, apricot-y?
Oh, look at that.
I would say it's more like
Yeah.
my
That's
opinion.
a head.
Yeah.
And by the way, go Riders.
No, just no.
Okay, so what do you think? Have a taste. Have a swig. Now this is Dave. Dave does not like IPAs.
Whoa. Okay, that's kind of a kicky in the teeth. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why I like it. What do you think?
It's hopping all over the place.
You know what? It has a very citrusy kind of flavor, and this is common of all hoppy beers, but it has that sort of like a bite, like you would drinking grapefruit juice.
Yeah. That's there you go. That's what I was looking for. It smells awesome.
What about the taste?
Well,
Hey,
unfortunately,
Mikey.
gotta say, not a fan.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. I've
All
had this
right.
before.
Oh, you've had it before.
I've had it before because, as Shane said, he drinks this shit by the gallon.
As do I.
Not every
My
night.
go-to.
Yeah, well, I know you're like Mr. IPA for sure.
Yeah.
That's your kind of thing.
Can't do podcast, busy drinking.
It's for me. I mean, it's probably not my go-to IPA. There's probably other IPAs that I would have first, but this is a very good IPA, and I have no qualms about drinking it today or any time in the future. I have had it before, obviously, and it's very good, very enjoyable. It's got a very sort of it does have a kick, but not too much of a kick. So I really enjoy it. Shane, you're not drinking.
Dude,
'cause he's
you were
finished.
talking and I was busy drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back to it.
You're all blurry now. Or is that the
That's what
beer?
it does to you, doesn't it? Yeah.
What happened? Who are you? No, I've had a very long relationship with Fat Tug, but yeah, I mean,
Is Allie aware of this?
Allie has actually been involved too because
That sounds kinky.
Lucky bastard.
no, she this is actually one of her favorites as well because it's if we see Fat Tug on the menu of any restaurant and we are thinking about getting beer, we will get Fat Tug pretty much over anything else unless there's something incredibly unique. So yeah, that's basically if Fat Tug's there, almost we would just say screw it. That's what we're getting and that's all we're getting, without even really wanting to be adventurous. But with our taste buds. But I don't know. There's something about Fat Tug that it has a really good balance, even more so than well, pretty much any other IPA I've had. I don't know. I mean, it's got a strong flavor, but it doesn't have that strong sort of back of your throat kind of like I just had an IPA, that kind of thing. Which some IPAs, the hops just for some reason, I'm assuming it's the type of hops that they have or that they've used. So there's a gritty feeling. There's no grit in it. Where this one, I've never had that problem. I've never had the post-drinking IPA kind of, grit issue thing, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, this is one of my definite I am in love with kind of beers. But I'm not a fan of the new artwork. I kind of like the old one, but again, this is the first time I've seen the new one, and I just don't. Yeah, I'm not a fan. But I did find an official Driftwood Brewery poster online here, which is a different, the same elements but arranged differently, and it's definitely a Kraken hop hybrid thing.
Right.
So I have to give them from Fukushima. I give them a thumbs up for that because that's kind of cool. But again, to this, now that we've done the pour, to the segue that Locke set up so nicely earlier, this week Alan has brought to us two links from the underworld of the internet, talking about companies that make beer, and the companies are not beer makers traditionally. They are one of the companies is Lulu. I've never known how to pronounce this. Lululemon. And then we have, of course, another strange brewery in Illinois that is doing a root beer with booze. So you take root beer and add alcohol to it, and there you go. So, yeah. So I guess the theme for tonight is this weird, incredibly adventurous types of beers. Like we've seen, we have the IPAs, we've got the ales, we've got the lagers, we have the ambers, that kind of stuff, but I have never we've had donuts and maple syrup and all kinds of things in beers that we tried on the show, and this is probably the first time I've actually heard, because when I associate root beer, I don't associate as a drink. I don't associate root beer with alcohol, but I'm assuming at some point in the past, because I don't know the history of root beer. To me, it's always been like a soda pop.
It's actually kind of interesting because I've looked into brewing root beer at home.
It's
actually fairly easy to do.
Root in root beer? Does anybody know that? What is it?
Depends. It's like mostly sarsaparilla and spices and some other ones like I think birch and all that. It depends on the recipe you're using though. But when you make your root beer, you add yeast to it. And depending on how long you let it ferment, alcohol is going to be a byproduct of that. So it is a natural part of making root beer. The thing is, most root beers only ferment for maybe a few days at most, and then you put it in a bottle and you stick it in the fridge and you can have. So I mean, you can make a batch of root beer inside of a week. So the alcohol doesn't really get a chance to really be created and with any volume.
So root beer was a thing before it was bottled commercially as just a standard soda.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same deal with ginger beer. Same deal. So naturally it would have alcohol in it. So with these particular brews, all they're doing is just letting them go a little bit longer, and allow a little bit of a buildup of alcohol volume.
And to give you a bit of history, I just pulled out the Wikipedia page on root beer. I'm sure that everybody here could go and check it out. But apparently, it is a root beverage that was made by Native Americans for medicinal and culinary reasons before the arrival of Europeans. But once the Europeans arrived, they started to write down the recipes and then sold it as a confectionery since 1840-ish.
So I wonder what we're talking about when they say medicine. I mean, I wonder if this was like, Coca-Cola where it had cocaine in it and stuff.
It's possible. I mean, it's apparently the first version of it was sassafras root. So, but here's the interesting part. Pharmacist Charles Elmer Hires was the first to successfully market a commercial brand of root beer. Hires discovered his root tea because he actually wanted to call it root tea.
Root tea.
Made from sassafras in 1875, debuted a commercial version of the root beer in 1876, and began selling his extract. Hires was a teetotaler who wanted to call the beverage root tea. However, his desire to market the product to the Pennsylvania coal miners caused him to call his product root beer instead. In 1886, Hires began to bottle a beverage that was made from his famous extract, and by 1893, root beer was distributed widely across the United States. Non-alcoholic versions of root beer became commercially successful, especially during Prohibition. So that's kind of the sassafras root, which is I don't even really honestly know much about sassafras, except it's really funny to say in comics by featuring Bugs Bunny. So there you go. So that's where I grew up with Hires root beer. That was kind of the root beer that and A&W.
There isn't any Hires root beer anymore, is there?
I haven't seen it.
It's now Barks, isn't it?
I don't. Well, I know Barks made root beer before that. I don't think it was renamed or anything.
I really miss Hires root beer.
But
like Barks is a different recipe than Hires, no doubt. Yeah. Hires had a frothy foam, whereas Barks, it's like a sparkle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Barks also has caffeine in it, and Hires never did.
Yeah.
Consolidated Foods bought the company from Hires, which made the root beer in 1960, only to sell it 2 years later to Crush International. Procter & Gamble bought Crush in 1980 and sold it to Cadbury in 1989. Cadbury divested its soft drinks in 2008. The beverage company renamed itself to Dr. Pepper Snapple Group that year. In Canada, the Hires brand is no longer sold by Dr. Pepper Snapple Group. Retailers and vending machines have replaced it with the Pepsi-owned Mug root beer since the 1990s. Hires availability in the U.S. is limited as other Dr. Pepper-owned brands like A&W root beer are competing for the same bottlers on behalf of the same company. The Big H root beer extract, a modern version of the Hires root beer kit, unsweetened concentrate, is still sold in a restaurant chain in Utah to would-be homebrewers, too impatient to carbonate the old-fashioned way using sugar and yeast that are assured that dry ice is a more rapid source of CO2. So yeah, I guess it's pretty much if you want to travel down to somewhere in the southern states, you can probably find Hires somewhere. But yeah,
road trip.
Exactly. Woo! The Crafty Boys are on the road. That's kind of sad. I had no idea that was the demise of Hires, really. So weird kind of stuff goes on with that, with drinking even non-alcoholic drinks and whatnot. So what is your opinion about a company, Lululemon or Lululemon, however you want to pronounce it? What is your opinion about companies that are branching out into this kind of stuff? I mean, from a business perspective, I guess it's a good idea, but well, I don't know. It's kind of like saying, hey, what the mother of Murgatroyd is that?
That is what it sounds like when you get a oh shit. Okay, he's in the house. Fuck. I'm
Who's
home in bed. You were on the internet. LOL. Yeah, so that's my friend Mark. I got a surprise visit from a buddy of mine who lives in London, England. I only realized that he was showing up today, like yesterday. But yeah, so we were drinking coffee earlier today because he, interestingly, for all that he used to be a boozer par excellence, gave up boozing.
What?
He's a teetotaler. Well, not a teetotaler. He's a coffee totaler.
Kick him
Still
out.
likes
Kick him
caffeine.
out. Get rid of the guy.
But I'll tell you what else he likes. He likes his yoga.
Wow. Well, hey, so do you, man. You're like hardcore into the hot yoga.
Oh yeah, no, I dig that stuff. It's, I mean, it's, yeah, I'm right into it.
So what's your back to my original question? What is your opinion about companies that are? I mean, this goes to all of you guys, of course. The opinions that you have about companies that are not beer companies that do partnerships with beer companies. I don't know. It seems to me, as one of these articles point out, it's kind of weird.
There's some instances where it's more appropriate than others. Like, okay, so Iron Maiden make beer, and given that you can easily believe that Iron Maiden drink this stuff, it seems like a reasonable fit. Slightly more surprising is the fact that Motorhead make a really quality red wine. But yeah. But Lululemon making beer. Here's the thing. If Lululemon are going to make beer, I'm sorry, lager doesn't cut it. If Lululemon are going to make beer, they should be making something badass. You know what I mean? Like, if there's anything about the Lululemon brand that might work with the idea that they make beer, it would be something. It would be like the fact that when I go to my hot yoga, my water bottle, I use a rye whiskey bottle, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some juxtaposition of like, okay, yeah, I'm all into this. We're getting really chilled out and stuff, but I'm not about, I'm not all about being neurotically healthy. You know what I mean? I like the way it makes me feel. I like that it's a good workout. It's, chills me out, stress release. It's very, but I mean, yeah, if Lululemon are going to make alcohol, I would want Lululemon to be making whiskey.
I can see that. I mean, in the movie today that I saw, Pixels, when I got free tickets with Elsons, we went to saw the film today. Dan Aykroyd makes a brief cameo at the beginning of the film as an announcer at a video game tournament in the early 80s. And then about 2/3 of the way through the film, the characters are... Stop yawning, Dave. The characters are hanging out at a pub, and one of them says, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna have a beer," and the other one says, "No, I gotta have something harder," and they suddenly had a Crystal Skull bottle on the beer on the bar. So I thought that was a little kind of amusing, but I just want to throw out just to tell people what this is. The premium British beer you mentioned by Iron Maiden is called Trooper. Yeah. And it's a partnership with a place called Robinson's, which I guess is a brewer Robinson's Brewery in the UK. Trooper 666 is the beer coming this fall, and there's a few other sort of rambling things here and there. Now, over to Motorhead. Motorhead makes two types of wine, a vodka and a beer. The Shiraz, according to Lemmy, says, "My advice is approach it with caution. I mean, wine is deceptive and anything can happen." Phil says about the vodka, "Drink it, enjoy it, but don't blame me tomorrow." The Rose wine from Mickey is, "This is one hell of a rockin' Shiraz Rosé, I think." And the beer, promoted entirely by the whole band, "Beer distributed straight from hell." So there you go. Beer drinkers and hell raisers, and the beer is called, I think the full name is Bastards, Motorhead Bastards. So there we go. So I have to say, at some point, we should see if we can find this beer and feature it on the show, because I think it would be
Speaking
quite
of beer drinkers and hell raisers, I'll tell you, if there's a brand out there in the music industry that would sell me a beer, it would be ZZ Top. That I'm up for.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen the latest thing from ZZ Top? Because you and I a few weeks ago were talking about ZZ Top, and we were looking at some of their videos, and I think it was the next day, or maybe when you were here, I can't remember, because we were drinking beer. I actually looked up one of their newer songs from the last couple of years, and the title track is called "I Gots to Get Paid." And I love that song. It's like it's my theme song now.
Nice.
So if you have to have a beer, that would be "I Gots to Get Paid" would be a beer that I would give it. That's the name I would give it. So there you go.
I think it comes down to it with these collaborations. I mean, there's some that really make sense. Like the very first beer that we did in episode number 1 was the Fuggles and Warlock Beating Me Up Espresso Stout, which was the espresso part. It was a collaboration with Salt Spring Island Coffee. So they used Salt Spring Island coffee in the beer and came up with this concoction. And it really went over well, and I think that's great. Iron Maiden doing beers, I mean, if it can be marketed right and people enjoy it and it's a good beer, I mean, why the hell not? With Lululemon, apparently this is their second foray into brewing a beer. Their first one that they did was for an in-house promotion with their staff at a private party. So I mean, but that I can kind of get it. But this time they're actually going to release this thing publicly. They must have some sort of an end game on it. They're looking to increase sales of their product, not just beer product, but clothing product somehow. The question is how. So I mean, if it works, fine. But I kind of question whether if their heart is really in providing a really good beer product or just trying to move overpriced workout clothes.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try it just so that I know for sure. Like, one hates to speak with, you don't want to judge without some kind of better information. But
yeah,
I just have this awful feeling that it's going to be weak, and it.
Well, and they said here, I mean, it comes in a slender can. It's only 4.6%. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a bad beer or anything. It's just, and I mean, they are collaborating with Stanley Park Brewing, which is a pretty good brew company. I don't think they're going to put their name on
Stanley Park are
absolutely. Huh?
More miss than hit, in my view.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, I've had some stuff from them that I like.
Okay, what Stanley Park beers do you like?
Well, I mean, I've had a couple of them. I mean,
look,
they're
I'm
not
not
notable.
say no to one if it's free or something, but I mean...
Yeah. But usually what it is, I get together with some buddies or something, somebody's got one, say, hey, you want a beer? And I'm like, sure. And they hand me one. Oh, it's a Stanley Park. That's all I know about it, but... yeah. Way to point out that I'm a complete fraud. Thank you. What an ass.
Well, that's okay.
Lululemon's the fraud here.
I know.
Beer with
I like looking at their product on other people, but I think the company's kind of despicable, to be honest.
My sister and my mother a couple years ago insisted that I should be buying pants from Lululemon because they say they're so comfy. And yeah, I don't see it at all. Have you seen their pants? Sure, they might be comfortable.
If you
but
had
they
David Lee Roth here, then I would be saying, yep, that's the right move.
They have a type of pant for men, and I don't remember exactly what the name is, but it's got like a little pocket for your manhood to sit in, and it prevents them from being crushed while you're walking and sitting, because apparently that's what happens all the time when you wear regular clothes. I've never had that happen, but they're apparently anti-ball crushing pants.
Well, it's okay, because honestly, if you could be like this dude here,
I can't see that.
You know, you can't see it. What?
You're too close to the camera.
How about that? How's that? Is that better?
Okay, David Lee Roth.
Yep. So this book was given to me by Locke Fulton. Yeah, it was a really good read. I mean, and I agree that the reason I brought it out is I thought, that's a good point. If I had his hair, I would wear those pants. So let's go back to the boozy root beer thing being a trend for this year, where apparently this is going to be a thing. According to this article, sprinkling a vat of beer being brewed with sassafras bark, vanilla, wintergreen, and handfuls of additional spices is a big thing, and it's going to be the rage by the end of 2015. So,
Okay.
yeah, you guys buying this? I'm not buying it.
I'm seriously not against the principle of the thing, but if it's like, you know what it's like when you get drunk on a really sugary drink. The next morning is a nightmare. The hangover is appalling. It's like turbo shandies. Has anybody here ever done a turbo shandy?
I have no idea what that is. Please tell me more.
It's a Welsh woman that introduced me to this. Worst hangover ever. So it's where you take like a Mike's Hard Lemonade or something like that, and you do it like a snake bite, so half beer, half Mike's Hard.
Okay.
So it's basically, it's basically vomit fuel. Just appalling.
The thing is, Lockhart, in the fermentation process, the yeast eats the sugar, and that's what creates the alcohol.
Okay. But as long as they're not just taking root beer and making it taste like sweetie root beer, and
no, I don't think
adding alcohol.
I think they'll do it the traditional way.
Root beer isn't what I'm looking for. If it's a traditional, like, classy outfit that's doing it the proper fermentation, that I'm up for. Yeah.
This is what I'm hoping for. Is that, and I'll be honest here, I'm surprised that this hasn't been done before now, given the craft brew business as it is.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I think there'll be a real market for this.
You know what it might be a little bit like, actually, if you think about it? It might be a little bit like, Salt Spring Island's, like their heather beer and their whatchamacallit?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be more like, and this is going to be the fortified bad example that you gave, but the company Woody's, the drink Woody's, and they make different types of stuff. Anyway, they make a sarsaparilla, and I'm not sure. I think it comes from Britain, and it's quite good. I don't think it'll be like that exactly. I think what some companies, the better ones, the ones that are more appreciated, will be the ones that they brew the old-fashioned way, and they alcoholize naturally by eating the sugars that are in the mix.
Okay, yeah. So Salt Spring makes a gruit. Do you know about gruits?
Mm-mm.
No, what's that?
Okay, so it sounds. Mark's asking about coffee instructions in case he's up before me. No. A gruit. So a gruit is a very old style. Now, not Native American. I think this is European, but it predates, the Reinskobolt and all of that hops and barley stuff. It's not hopped. I don't know that there's any particular restriction on what grains you use, but it's preserved using a variety of sort of herbs and things that traditionally some of them were psychoactive, and potentially roots and that kind of thing as well. But if you've had now, Salt Spring makes gruits twice a year. They make their spring gruit and their autumn gruit. And the spring gruit is sort of bright and sort of slightly floral tasting, but their autumn gruit actually does taste a bit like what we've been talking about in terms of like a traditional root beer.
Mm.
Yeah.
It makes me sad that we can't get Motorhead's booze in our country.
Man, really?
They don't ship to Canada. They ship to only 26 states in the United States, and that was only as of May of 2012. So hopefully they seem to be focusing on the EU because all their prices are in the euro. And the same for the Trooper, which is really sad. You can't buy it here. Which
No,
sucks,
you can buy
man.
it here.
Well,
Have you seen it?
You get Trooper. Whether we're going to see Trooper 666, I don't know. Trooper 666 in any event might be a limited run, is my understanding. But it's higher in alcohol. Like it's a high test brew. I'll tell you, the likelihood is that I'm going to be over in England some point in the fall to continue my legal studies. So maybe we can kind of
bring a few bottles back.
See what we can do.
Ooh, excuse me. Whoa, that's what the IPA does to me, man. That's what it does to me. So basically, I'm not a fan of this idea of the beer, the alcoholic root beer, because I fear what they might do with it. Let's make it an IPA, because I think that would just be weird. But I don't know, Dave. Dave, you've been awfully silent. What do you think?
Well, I mean, IPA root beer, that's just disgusting.
But
right?
again, what if
What
it
else are you gonna
tastes?
say
But
about it?
it would taste
But
really good. I think.
would. Can't
Did we
mix
lose?
IPA and root beer. It's just not done.
Look, if
Okay.
one of these things ended up tasting like Salt Springs Autumn Gruit, and I'm saying
Okay, all right, okay, I can see that.
Gruit does, I mean, like, it's got, I wouldn't call it exactly a licorice flavor, but there's something about it it's kind of, herbal, floral, but it's a stronger taste, but it's not unappealing, and it's not overly sweet, is my point.
Okay, all right.
Shane, if I could sum up what I think the three of us are trying to tell you is, all we are saying is give alcoholic root beer a chance.
Okay, fine. I
Just give it a
will-
chance. Try it. That's all you gotta do. Try it. If you don't like it, you can put it back. I mean, there are children in Ethiopia
And if it turns out to suck, then
who
we'll
don't get any root beer at all.
Okay, all right, okay, fine. I just want to actually say a pause here for a second because we only have a couple minutes left. But I want to give a shout out to the one viewer that we have had this episode. I don't know if they're watching us live, but they are definitely playing the episode back. We will find out where they're from. So, hey, leave us a comment on the video down here below. Give us a thumbs up. If you like what we're doing, tell us by giving us a thumbs up. And, of course, spreading the word about the Crafty Boys. That said, guys, we are at time. So, Alan, when people want to find you online, where can they find you to basically gain wisdom from yourself?
Well, they can tweet my twat at Alan, ALAN, M, as in Marvin, and Ford, like on the cars.
And what about
Back
you,
to you in
Dave?
studio.
And
Now I'm just seeing
Dave is our
live and driving a
weatherman.
car. Tonight it's going to be hot and shitty, with tomorrow continued periods of hot and humid and shittier. You can find me at The Fool, which is the Phule on the Twitters.
Right
I've
on.
actually started to follow a few more people.
Nice. Well,
It's,
welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here. And what about you, Locke? Where can people find you online when they're trying to find you?
Aside from Ashley Madison, I could be found at my Twitter account, Lockeful.
Very good. And of course, you can find the Crafty Boys on their Twitter account at the Crafty Boys, and of course, thecraftyboys.ca. You can of course go to the blog. You can of course follow us on the YouTube channels, and don't forget to give us a rating. Tell us what you think. Let us know if we're doing anything great, and if we're not, be quiet. So give us a thumbs up anyway. That's all for this week. So basically, mixing root beer with beer, good idea. Mixing pants with beer, not such a great idea.
Pants flavored beer.
Yay!
Yoga pants flavored beer. Takes the
Bye,
sweat.
everybody.
Bye.
Say goodbye.